Welcome to the Cavalry Academy podcast, where we share the industry secrets on how to run your maintenance department. If you're a property manager, or even if you're a maintenance professional, and whether you manage 5 properties or 5,000, we have the golden nuggets for you. We're joined by our co-host, Diego. Diego is our COO at Cavalry. He has a decade of experience to share on how to run a maintenance department. My name is Tom, CEO, and I will try to ask the right questions so you get the most value for the time you invested in joining us. So today's topic is an introduction to maintenance coordinators. So what they do, what their preferred character traits are, where to find A players, what the average salaries are. We'll talk about the interview process, some of the challenges in managing maintenance coordinators or maintenance managers, and then finally, we'll show you how you can get the best trained maintenance coordinators without even having to spend any of our time or money. So let's talk a little bit about the maintenance department structure. For property managers, for example, who are currently managing their own maintenance service requests, let's briefly explain the maintenance department structure, and just so we can understand what a full maintenance team looks like.
Yeah, so pretty much in an ideal world, you would want a structure that looks a little bit like this. So you would want at the very top a maintenance manager, someone with a lot of experience that can go ahead and guide the entire team through anything that comes across their way. So below that, you usually want to have either, a supervisor, TL, type of individual, or a senior MC, someone with a lot of experience, but that hasn't gone up that level, to become a manager yet. Maybe they need a little more experience and so on, right? Below that, then you would want to have your maintenance coordinators. Depending on the size of the property management company, you want to have a maintenance coordinator that can handle roughly 150 properties to 250 properties. That way, it allows you as the property manager to scale, right? So that should be the ideal number. Of course, you can push more properties on an MC depending on the experience that they have, and they could easily reach up to 350 once they've gained more experience and so on. You also, as a maintenance department, you might think that might be it, right? But you also need vendor onboarding specialists, estimators, and so on. Of course, you don't necessarily need that if you're a property management company with less than 500 homes. But in an ideal scenario where you do grow and you have over, let's say, 1,500 homes, then you do want to start to scale that, because you're going to require more vendors. You're going to require people checking estimates continuously, invoices, and so on. So, yes.
Okay, great. So as of how many maintenance coordinators do you feel like we should start hiring a maintenance manager to manage those people?
I would say once you have roughly 700 to 1,000 doors, that's when you should start considering hiring someone with a lot of experience. Why? Because that's where you're going to start to feel a lot of friction if there aren't processes in place and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. You're going to have a lot of escalations and so on, because we've seen it countless times. What ends up happening, most property management companies hire 1, 2, or 3 maintenance coordinators, but there isn't a real structure or knowledge of how to handle maintenance. So if you don't have that structure, everyone's gonna they're gonna be doing their own thing, which will hurt the company in the long run. It might not hurt you with the first 200, 500 homes, But once you do start to scale, it is going to be a problem.
Who should consider hiring a maintenance coordinator? And in other words, like, what does a maintenance coordinator actually do day to day?
Well, I think everyone should consider hiring a maintenance coordinator. And the reason why I say that, if you're able to remove a good amount of your workload from your property managers or well, mainly your property managers, because most companies, they have their property managers doing everything, right? So when I first started in this industry, I started as a maintenance coordinator. I was actually hired as an assistant to the property manager. So you could start there. As an assistant, you're pretty much able to do a bit of everything. Now, maintenance is the one that requires the most time and effort. So if I would definitely emphasize to everybody listening that you should start with a maintenance coordinator as soon as you can. This will save you a lot of time, which will allow you to focus on the growth of your company. And in the long run, it might seem like a costly thing if you're paying for that individual, but in the long run, it's going to save you thousands of dollars, and it's going to save you countless hours, which is going to allow you to grow a lot faster than you would have by taking every task at hand.
I think you bring up a good point. Yes, it will cost you money, right? But it is an investment, right? So let's talk a little bit about what can go wrong in maintenance without a maintenance coordinator. If you're currently a property manager and you have to deal with maintenance, we do maintenance, we do it for a living. So we know how time consuming and how difficult it actually can be, right? So what are the things that can go wrong? Well, a lot of things can go wrong, but it seems to me like that investment for that maintenance coordinator will allow, like you said, it gives the property manager way more time, right? But also it prevents issues from happening and escalations from happening, which could cost you some clients. Now, also with the time that property managers regain, they can actually build their portfolio further out, right? So technically, it should always give a return on their investment. Being a maintenance coordinator is not for everybody. It's a stressful job, especially in the beginning when they haven't really mastered their day-to-day workflow yet. So, Diego, what do you feel are some of the character traits that one should look out for when hiring a maintenance coordinator?
Well, three things they should look for, these are the three most important things. Detailed oriented people. If you find someone that is going to be looking at every little thing, it's going to save you thousands of dollars, because we know maintenance can cost you money if you make a mistake. And so you want people that will avoid making those mistakes. How do they avoid it? By looking at every little thing, right? And so that, I would say, that's one of the top priorities. Customer service, that's another one that you must have in that individual. If the person doesn't have customer service experience, if they don't have customer service a knack for it, then it's really not going to work out, because you're going to have more escalations, you're going to have more issues and more friction with tenants and owners. So you definitely need someone with a good amount of customer service experience. Number three, they have to be problem solvers. Maintenance is a pretty much a monster when it comes to dealing with so many different things. You have plumbing, electrical, HVAC, handyman work, foundation problems, mold remediation issues, you name it. You need someone that can go ahead and solve every situation a little bit differently, because every home is different. So you can't expect to be facing the same thing over and over. That's one of the things that I love about maintenance. you don't necessarily deal with the same issue again. Every garbage disposal is different, every home is different. Yes, you might be able to fix it the same way multiple times, but there will be unique situations constantly. So those would
Yes.
be the three best things.
Okay, so we have I for detail, so detail oriented. We have customer service. So for customer service, I would imagine that we have to look for empathy, right? Because it's all about empathy because a work order comes in, you're dealing with a tenant. It's the tenant is living there, but the tenant has zero power in that home because it's not their home. Yet they might be living there for over 6, 7, 10 years. They consider it their home, but they're not allowed to do anything. So knowing all of that is super important for a maintenance coordinator, understanding that and then showing the necessary empathy to deal with that, because you're going to deal with frustrated tenants, and that's where customer service and empathy come in, I think. And then yeah, problem solvers for sure. Not only what you're mentioning as well, but also if you're going to be outsourcing your maintenance, you don't want to hold somebody's hand either. So it's going to be a combination with a good problem solver, even with not that much experience, will always find a way to solve the problem immediately in a good way, in a logic way, right? So we have detail oriented, we have empathy slash customer service, and problem solvers. So those are the three biggest ones. So Diego, now that we know what to look for in maintenance coordinators, let's talk about where to find maintenance coordinators. And before we get into where to actually find, what source where you source maintenance coordinators, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is should you go with US based talent or should you go with abroad, right? Because we know abroad you can find A players at half the cost from the US. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is it a bad thing? Should it be seen as a bad thing, or is it just, what happens in life? Everything is relative. Cost of living there is just cheaper, so you find better people at a lower cost. How should we look at that? And should we feel bad about hiring people abroad, basically?
So let me start by answering both all of those questions with a simple no. You shouldn't feel bad about hiring individuals abroad, because not that many people know that property managers and property management companies, they don't make that much of the top end when it comes to their actual services. And the growth aspect is very, very hard if you don't have individuals that are working with you from other parts of the world. To basically put this into perspective, if you want an A type of individual in the US, it's gonna cost you over $15 an hour. And if you want to
Easy.
get in, yeah, easily. And that's going, way below market standards depending on the city you're in. But if you're looking for an A type of individual from another country like Mexico, the Philippines, you're gonna pay probably under $10 an hour. You can sometimes find individuals for $7, $8 an hour, right? And so it's a very big difference that can save you as a property manager a lot of dollars throughout every month. And that's going to allow you to grow better and faster, because that's scaling is extremely hard for property management companies. And also making a profit is pretty hard to do, especially when your margins are so low. So that would be the number one answer. Now, to source the best MCs, I would definitely recommend VPM Solutions. They have one of the best services in the industry, which is finding individuals, not just for maintenance coordinators. They do other trades, like for example, accounting, resident support individuals, marketing, you name it. Anything that has to do with property management, they can go ahead and source that for you. And the cool thing about them is they find individuals from different parts of the world. They do testing, so that in courses, so that the individuals can actually start to learn about your particular company or the particular trade that they're applying for. So it's really cool because a lot of times property managers, they hire someone from without any experience of the property management industry, and so they get them prepared, before you even do the interview. And so I find that very unique because you're not getting someone that's completely raw. You're getting someone that at least understands what the industry is doing and what your company is aiming to do. So I would 100% suggest, if you need a maintenance coordinator, you can definitely start there.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I even believe that you as a company, as a property management company, you can create your own test and have your own little course on the website. So the people who actually would become candidates for your position could then take those tests and you can actually pre-qualify them. So yeah, VPM Solutions, I really love the service. I love the idea. And Pete Newbeck is a veteran in the industry. He knows what he's doing. So Diego, you touched upon an important topic, the salary, US versus worldwide. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. So, the strategy that we use, for example, let's say, for example, you have a maintenance coordinator, the average salary in the US, let's say it's minimum 12, I would say, $13, whereas the average wage in, for example, Mexico for remote work would be around 6, 7. I think if you then, that's about half, give or take. So a good strategy would it be to just, so if, for example, in Mexico it's half price, then you can actually hire at the top range, which is the lowest price in the US, to then get the best to get the best candidates. Is that the strategy you should use, or should you just try and get the lowest cost labor? What's your opinion on this?
So it depends on time, and when I refer to time, it's training, right? Because once you hire an individual to take on your maintenance coordination, you need to invest time to train that individual according to your processes. So if you have the time, I believe you can find very good individuals that are barely starting, and you can start to train them and bring them up to your expectations, your level. And now, if right now, you're hurting in maintenance and you need someone with experience, then I would definitely suggest, spending a bit more and getting someone that has experience, that has worked with other companies, and it might be it hopefully it's a top type of candidate that will allow your company to get past that hump.
All right, so Diego, we spoke about the character traits that are needed in a maintenance coordinator, which is being detail oriented, having some customer experience, customer service experience, and the third one was being a problem solver, right? So when we hop to the interview process, what are some good ways for you to figure out if these candidates actually have these traits, these character traits?
So when you're doing the interview, there are multiple things you could do. You could put them on the spot and do testing. Like give them a scenario that they have to solve, and see how they provide customer service while doing so. So one of the really quick and easy examples I like to do is putting a very rough situation that doesn't necessarily have an answer, or it's something that they can't solve because they don't have the answers, right? How do you provide a solution to a situation where you can't solve it, right? So an individual with experience, especially with customer service experience, will tell the tenant something like, "Hey, Mr. Tenant, I actually don't have the answer for you right now, but if you give me a couple of minutes, maybe 15, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. I can go ahead and get that answer for you, so I can go ahead and provide a solution to this potential scenario." So the way that the individual interacts with you in a situation like that, and especially putting them on the spot, you're going to be able to see all three things. You're going to be able to see if they're able to provide a solution, which doesn't necessarily mean a solution right away. It means gathering more information, detail oriented, because you're going to be giving them a very big topic that that's going to require different listening skills and so on. And of course, customer service, empathy. How did they interact with you as the tenant? And something like that goes a very long way. Other things that you can do is you can ask them to take a written test, where in that written test you focus on detail oriented stuff. One of the scenarios I've seen so many times is they put a test in front of you with, I don't know, 20 questions, right? And the very first thing that it says, put your name on the paper, and only answer the last question, right? But a lot of people don't read that first sentence. They just start answering the test because you can put a timer on that test, right? And detail oriented people will read everything, and they will just answer the last question and submit that to you. And people that are not detail oriented, they'll skip that and they'll start answering every single question on the test. So little things like that go a very long way. Yes, it might be a little bit time consuming, but it really helps because you're getting someone that is gonna pay attention to every detail of every work order.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think it doesn't necessarily have to cost that or be that time consuming, excuse me, because at VPM Solutions, for example, you could put that test on there. So everybody who applies for the job, they can perform the test, and then you can just filter out the people who did not complete it perfectly, and then actually it saves you time doing that, in that sense, because you're not wasting your time
Exactly.
on somebody who's not going to be detail oriented. Yeah, that's great stuff, man. Those are some great tricks, and I think implementing that really can benefit you in the long run and save time and a lot of money and headaches too.
Exactly.
All right, so what about managing maintenance coordinators? So we went through what is a maintenance coordinator, what do they do, what are their character traits, how to find them, how to hire them briefly, and then what are some of the issues you've seen in managing maintenance coordinators, or maybe even in general, remote workers? Because I think when we talk about issues in managing maintenance coordinators, let's talk about remote workers as well.
So basically the biggest issue you're gonna find working with remote workers is going to be whether the individual is actually working or not, right? You want people that are going to be working, the 8 hours of the day. There might be a remote worker that wants to take advantage of the situation and might want to get two jobs, and do both of them at the same time. Or I've seen situations where the individual is just not present, even when you ask them a question or call them and they just don't pick up, right? So there are solutions to that. One of them Time Doctor is sensational, so that you can track what the individual is doing. But I would say that's one of the biggest issues you might face in the as a property manager, hiring remote workers.
So, Time Doctor, you were a maintenance coordinator, in a previous life. So you've been on both sides, right? So you had to work under Time Doctor, being watched, if you will, and then now as a business owner yourself, we're also using Time Doctor. So what do you think? Is it important for people to use Time Doctor to manage people, or is it not that necessary?
I definitely think everyone that has a property management company and that has remote workers, they should use a system like Time Doctor. It's going to save you headaches. You're going to be able to see whether the person, is there working or not. You will be able to see if they're trying to cheat the system, because it takes a look at every keyboard click, every mouse movement, every mouse click. And so there are patterns in place that allows you to see whether somebody's trying to manipulate the system or not. Now, for new owners or new individuals hiring maintenance coordinators and using Time Doctor or whatever type of system you want to use, I definitely suggest reading all of the guidelines, because sometimes you might feel like somebody's slacking when they're maybe taking a 5-minute break or 10-minute break, which breaks are important. I can't stress that enough. I say that to all of our maintenance coordinators. Take the time to take a break, whether you're getting a coffee, whether you're going to the bathroom, or so on. Take those little breaks throughout the day. Don't abuse them. But do take them, and they will be reflected on Time Doctor, and you'll be able to see how long the break was and so on. But yes, Time Doctor is definitely one of the best tools you could use. Now, my perspective on Time Doctor, it really hasn't changed, because I've always been the type of individual that if you put a task in front of me, I try to get it done. As best as fast as possible, and as efficient as possible, right? And once I finish that particular task, if there's nothing else to do, then there's always something new that you can learn. I wouldn't be in the position that I am if I didn't take the time to learn and understand the industry a bit more at a time. So I had amazing mentors throughout my career, and every time I had the chance to work with them, I would definitely raise my hand and do so. If you're a maintenance coordinator listening into this podcast, I 100% suggest raising your hand every time you have that time, to see what else you can learn, to see what else you can do to help your company grow, and for you to grow as an individual. If you're aspiring to become maybe a supervisor or a maintenance manager, or maybe a maintenance director in the future. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a fantastic topic to dive a little bit deeper into, because maintenance coordinators, but literally any job there is available in any industry, if you just do what you say you're going to do, and if you just keep on learning and perfecting your skills, like there's always room for growth. Like you're always going to rise within the company. And it's just a thing in general that we see as business owners, right? How percentage wise, how little people actually go above and beyond to actually grow, right? We have great people, but we've also let go of not that great people, right? It's just what you have to do as a business owner in order to run your business correctly. And that's also something for a different podcast. But yeah, if you're a maintenance coordinator and you're listening, I think this was golden advice. If you have a little bit of that time, raise your hand. If nothing needs to be done, learn a bit more about the industry, do some pricing research, just learn in general, and you will grow in any business, really. Okay, so to recap, for all property managers who are listening in, what are the main advantages of having a maintenance team? So one of the first thing I'm thinking about is more time, but also after hours, not having to deal with tenants all the time. What do you think? What are the main advantages for you?
Yeah, so basically, it's going to save you countless hours. As we know in the property management industry, maintenance takes a lot of time from you. It builds a lot of stress on you and your company. And so having a maintenance coordinator handling 95% of your workload, it's going to make a huge difference. You're not going to have to be, taking calls after hours. You're not going to have to be stressed about whether something got done or not. As long as you find the right individuals, it's going to save you a lot of time. It's also going to save you a lot of money in the long run. Maybe not at first, in getting started, but it definitely will make a huge difference. And it's going to make you more profit in the long run as well, because you'll be able to focus on growth. You'll be able to flourish your property management company. And so it's definitely one of the best ways that you can get started. And now I don't want this to sound like a pitch or a sales call or something of that sort. But one of the things that property managers can actually do is they can hire services like Cavalry, our company. We provide maintenance coordinators completely free of charge. And not only that, but we provide structure, SOPs, vendor onboarding specialist, and different countless things that all of them are completely free. One of the things that we're trying to do in the industry, and you guys are going to be learning from these particular podcasts, is teaching individuals about maintenance, teaching individuals on how to grow their maintenance department if they don't want to hire our services. Because we want the industry to thrive. We want the industry to get better as a whole. And one of the last things I want to see is, I don't want to see more property management companies closing their doors because they couldn't structure maintenance correctly. Maintenance makes or breaks your company. And so I want to emphasize, we just want to teach, we want to help. And I believe either you hiring your own maintenance coordinator or hiring our services is going to make a huge impact on your company.
All right, Diego, that was a lot of value. And I believe next episode, we should talk about the maintenance coordinator a little bit more, dive into what their day-to-day looks like, what their day structure should look like. Do they start with reading their emails or do they not? I know that's a hot topic in our company. So yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Whether you're a property manager or you're a maintenance coordinator, it will help you structure the maintenance side of your business either way. So you will learn a lot about efficiency and how to run your day.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to, dive deeper into every single topic, teaching both property managers and maintenance coordinators to improve, for your property management company. And if any vendors are listening out there, we also want to provide, transparency on how a maintenance department, handles the work orders. What are some of the things that they have to deal with? So I can't wait to provide more guidance, more answers that people have been looking for a very long time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening in. This was the Cavalry Academy podcast 001. See you next time.